Alright, so for my coconut custard cupcakes, I want to make my custard first so it has a chance to cool. So I've got a saucepan here, and in that I'm going to put 1/3 of a cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And then I need to get my wet ingredients ready. So in my measuring cup, I have 3/4 of a cup of half and half, and I've got 3/4 of a cup of coconut milk. So that'll give us our lovely coconut flavor. And then to that, I'm going to add 3 egg yolks. Like that. And we'll just give that a little whisk. There we go. So now I need to add this into that. So I'm going to turn my stove onto a medium-low heat. And then I'm going to use my whisk. And I'm slowly going to whisk in our egg milk mixture into our sugar and cornstarch mixture. There we go. So I'm going to keep whisking this until it comes to a boil. Once it's come to a boil, I'm going to switch to stirring it with a wooden spoon. And I'm just going to boil it for 1 minute and then add the rest of my ingredients. Okay, so it's starting to boil. So I'm going to switch out to my spoon and I'm just going to keep stirring it so it doesn't catch on the bottom for a minute longer while it thickens. You can see it starting to thicken nicely on the back of the spoon. Okay, so I'm going to turn my heat off. And that's nice and thick now. And I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to add 1/2 tablespoon of butter and let that melt in. And then I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of flaked sweetened coconut. So this is definitely going to add a lovely coconut flavor to our coconut custard cupcakes. And what we're going to do is just let this cool down now. And I'll come back and we'll make the cupcakes, and then hopefully this will have cooled enough that we can fill our cupcakes with this and top them with a lovely whipped cream. So I'll be back and set up for the cupcakes. Just before we start the cupcakes, I just wanted to note that I have transferred the custard into just a Pyrex container, a glass bowl, anything will work, just so it's not still got the heat from the pan. And I've also placed a piece of cling film or plastic wrap over the surface just so it doesn't form a skin while it's cooling down. And if you need it to cool down quicker, you can pop it into an ice bath, and that will help cool it down a little bit quicker if you're finding it too warm where you are. All right, I'll get the cupcakes set up and start those. Okay, so we've got our custard made. That's going to go on the inside of our cupcakes. So next we need to make our coconut cupcakes. And so what we need to do first is whisk up our egg whites. So we use 3 egg yolks in the custard, and we're going to use the 3 egg whites for the cupcakes. And so we're just going to pop those in and whisk them up first. Okay, so we've got our egg whites whipped, and because I only have the one mixer, I'm going to just transfer these over to another bowl, and then just give this bowl a quick rinse out and make the batter in it, and then we'll add these egg whites back in. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I've cleaned out my bowl. If you have a separate hand mixer or 2 bowls, then by all means you can whisk the egg whites right at the end. I will sort of hand whisk them just to refresh them right before we add them in. But I only have the one mixer, so I've done the egg whites first in that, and then I'll add them back in at the end. This is a very simple batter, again, similar to the one that I used for my vanilla cupcakes, just with a few modifications from that. So we are going to pop everything into the mixer like I do with the other recipe. And the only sort of difference, I guess, is that we're adding the egg whites in at the end and some flaked sweetened coconut. So I'm going to start with 2 1/4 cups of flour into my bowl. Like that. And then I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of sugar. And 2 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of my almond extract. Then we've got 3/4 cup of vegetable shortening. And this time, instead of using regular milk, I'm going to use 3/4 cup of coconut milk to give it an even more lovely coconut flavor. So we're going to add that in. And we're going to add in 1 cup of the flaked coconut that's sweetened. So we'll grab that. And actually, I'm going to give this a quick mix first, and then I will add in my coconut. So bring that up and blend slowly first. We'll just give the bottom a quick scrape. And give it another mix. There we go. And so I'm going to bring that down, and then I'm going to add in my coconut. So that's 1 cup of coconut, and just stir that in. And then I'm just going to fold in my egg whites that I mixed up earlier. So as I said, I'm going to give them a quick little beat, just by hand. There we go. And we're going to put a little bit of that in, just sort of to temper our mixture. So we'll just gently stir that in on one. Excellent. And I'm going to again give the bowl a quick scrape. I'm going to add a little bit more of my egg white again. And then I'm just going to fold in the last probably half. Pop the rest of our egg whites in. And then using the same spatula I've just been scraping the bowl, I'm just going to gently fold that into my cupcake batter. There we are. So that's the batter ready to go. I have my oven preheated 350. I'll get my baking papers into my pans and come back and we'll pop them into the pans and into the oven. Okay, so I've got my papers into my tins and I'm just going to go ahead and fill all of these with my batter. I'm using my lovely ice cream scoop to help divide the batter evenly. So I will just go ahead and fill all those. So there are my cupcake cases filled with the batter. They're ready to go into the oven. This makes just shy of 24. And I'm going to put them into a 350-degree oven for 15 minutes, have a quick look, and then they'll probably need another 5 to 10 minutes after that. If you're noticing it's browning on a certain part, make sure you can flip top to bottom or turn them around just to make sure that they're evenly baking. So I will come back and show you what they look like when they're finished. Okay, so my cupcakes have been cooling in the tin for 10 minutes and I've just turned them out on the rack to finish cooling. This is what they look like. So nice light golden brown over the top of them. Toothpick inserted in the top has come out clean. While my oven's still on, I'm just putting a little bit of the flaked sweetened coconut onto a baking tray. I'm just going to bake that until it turns slightly golden brown and is toasted. And then we'll sprinkle that onto the top as a little finish for the top of the cupcakes. Okay, so now that we've got the custard made and cooling, the cupcakes are ready to go. I've got some lovely toasted coconut ready for the top. And now I need to make some whipped cream. So like a coconut cream pie, I want to put some whipped cream on the top. But I want it to last a little bit longer, so I need to stabilize it. And to do that, I'm just going to add a little bit of a gelatin sort of mixture to it. So to do that, I'm going to make 2 cups of whipping cream, or I'm going to use 2 cups of whipping cream. And so for that, I need to have 8 teaspoons of water in my saucepan, and I'm going to sprinkle over the top 2 teaspoons of unflavored gelatin. So you just sprinkle that over the top, and that's my 2nd teaspoon. And then you're just going to let this sit so it can bloom or thicken up a little bit for probably 5 minutes in there, and then we're going to warm it up so that the gelatin dissolves. And let it cool, and then you just add that into your regular whipped cream with a bit of icing sugar, and that stabilizes your whipped cream so that it doesn't go all runny or anything like that. So I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes, then I'll come back and heat it up. Okay, so my gelatin has thickened and sort of bloomed. You can see it's sort of absorbed all of the water. So now I want to turn on my stove to a low heat and just gently dissolve all of the gelatin. And I'm just going to sort of stir it around as I do that. I don't want it to burn, so I'm just going to use this little whisk. But you can sort of see as I'm trying to stir it up a little bit that it's all kind of clumped up. So that's exactly what you're looking for. And then on a low heat, we're just going to dissolve the gelatin. Okay, so all of my gelatin has dissolved, and now I'm going to turn off the heat, and then I just want to cool this a little bit before adding it into the whipped cream. I want to make sure that it's still cool enough that it's not going to hurt the whipped cream, but I want to make sure that it's not so cool that it's set into a solid lump. So just cool it down sort of to room temperature, but not much cooler than that. And I guess depends on the temperature of your room. And then we'll put that into our cream that we're going to whip up along with a bit of confectioner's sugar. So I'll get the bowl set up for that and come back. Okay, so I've got my heavy cream, 2 cups of heavy cream in my bowl. To that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of confectioner or icing sugar. And I'm just going to beat that until soft peaks form, and then I'll drizzle in my gelatin. There we go. So we've got soft peaks holding now. And so now I'm going to very slowly drizzle in my gelatin. There we go. So now I'm going to pop this into a piping bag just to make it easier to swirl on the top of the cupcakes. You do need to make sure you sort of work fairly quickly with this, because as it goes, the gelatin will actually set a little bit, and then it's going to make it harder to sort of pipe it or spread it on the top of the cupcakes. So let me get the cupcakes ready and this into a piping bag, and then we'll put our custard into them, or our cream, and then our icing on the top. Okay, so I've got my custard in a piping bag, and I've got my whipped cream in a piping bag, and I'm just using a Wilton 1M nozzle. And so now I need to make a little hole in these so that we can put in the custard. And so all I'm going to use is a serrated knife, and I'm just going to do it sort of in a upside down cone shape. So in a little circle, I'm just going to cut around like that, and then take that out. So then you've got a nice little hole to fill with your custard inside your cupcake. And then when you pipe the whipped cream over the top, you end up with covering that up, so it's a little bit of a custard surprise in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all my little centers. There we go. So I've got all my little centers out, and now I'm just using a piping bag. I've just cut the tip off the end of it. No tip in the end, and it's just to help put the filling in. If you'd rather not use or don't have a piping bag, you can just spoon it into the center. There's definitely no problem with that. This just makes it a little bit easier and quicker. And there we go. So now we've got all of that filled, and we're just going to go around. So again, 1 D tip or 1 M tip, and we're just going to swirl around the top. I'm going to start on the outside and swirl my way in. And I've filled my bag a little too full, which is why it's sticking out over the top. Okay, so we've now got the custard filled and whipped cream on top. So the final touch is to just put a little bit of the toasted coconut just sprinkled on the top. You can put as much or as little as you like. I'm just going to put a little mound of it on top, like that. And there you have it. Those are my lovely coconut cream cupcakes. We've got the toasted coconut on the top. Absolutely delicious. Now these do want to be in the fridge, although we've stabilized the whipped cream. Do keep them in the fridge unless you're going to eat them relatively soon. But anyway, thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. I'll post the recipe below in the comments section, and if you've got any comments, please post those below. Also, please subscribe to see what else I'm up to. Thanks again for watching.